Hello, first grade. Today we are going to be working on painting our Heather Galler bouquets. So before you begin painting, I want you to make sure that each flower you have has detail in it, and not just one layer of detail. You should have about 3 different details in each flower. So in this flower I have circles. I have 2 circles in the middle. I have lines connecting the circles, and I have these little bumps along the edge of my end circle. This one I have 2 circles right here, and I have some circles in the middle. This one I have a circle, I have a little circle, and then I have petals that reach all the way to the end. I also have some leaves kind of coming through in the edges, so if you have space, definitely add some leaves. If you do have a ton of space up here, add more flowers. We don't want to have a lot of background space. You want your bouquet to be big and full. Okay. Also, make sure that your checkerboard doesn't have any peekaboos in it, so it should be solid black, whatever you have for the checkerboard pattern. When you get your paint, we're going to be using liquid watercolor. Now, we do not need to add water to any of these. They are already liquid. But when you use these, just keep in mind that some of the colors look darker than they actually are. Like this is actually yellow, this is orange, this is red, this is green, purple, and blue. With the liquid watercolor, you do need to clean out your brush when you go to a different color. So what I like to do is I try to use up the paint on my brush, and I just kind of go to different flowers. So I'm going to start with some yellow. I'm just going to dip my brush in the paint once, then I'm going to spread it around, and I'm painting inside the lines. I didn't dip my brush back in the paint once because I have a lot of paint still on my brush, and I'm going back over some areas and kind of pulling some paint off of them. So that one's yellow. I'm going to do some yellow over here, I think. I'm going to do the outer edge yellow. Now when you're painting, use the tip of your brush to paint along the ends, the edge of your flowers, okay? If you're pressing down too hard, your brush is going to flatten, and then it's going to get in the spaces you don't want it to get in. So make sure you're using light pressure like a feather. And I'm not swirling my brush when I dip it in the paint. I'm just dipping it straight down and straight back up. Okay, you don't need to swirl the paint. You also never tap the paint either, okay? Just dip down straight up. I'm cleaning up my brush right now in my water, and I'm going to get another color. I think I'm going to get some purple. So I'm going to get some purple, and I'm going to add purple to areas that are dry, so areas that I haven't painted. I could go around here and add some purple. It's very close to the yellow, but it's not touching the yellow, so I won't worry about it mixing with yellow. I'm using the tip of my brush. Carefully going all the way around. If your paint looks like it has a puddle, you need to get some of that paint from the puddle and put it in another area. Like this area is pretty dark right here. I could put it over here and spread the paint. Remember, I didn't dip my paintbrush back in the paint at all. I'm just spreading around that paint, so I'm just kind of going back over this and adding it to another area. Okay, I'm going to do some purple over here as well. I'm going to do some purple in these circles. And I'm just going through each one. I'm going over some of the darker ones because that means they have a lot of paint on them. And then I'm going to clean up my brush. Now we have turquoise blue. I'm going to get some of that turquoise blue. I'm going to add some in, let's see, I'm going to add some in this shape. This shape is dry. This part's dry right here. So I'm trying to do different colors in my flowers to make them really pop out and stand out. You should have at least 3 different colors in your flowers. Okay? Don't do one flower, one solid color. So for example, this flower down here, I have 3 different options, 3 different spaces I can do. I can do the circle different, I can do the petals different, and the space around it. It's going to make everything stand out. I'm going to get some orange, and I'm going to paint the background orange around my petals carefully. And then I'm going to paint the middle, and I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to go back in and paint the petals. Okay, so I'm going to take some of that paint, spread it over. I didn't dip my brush in the paint at all, just that one time at the beginning. I'm going to clean out my brush, and I'm going to get a color for the center. I think I'm going to do green for the center. Okay. I'm also going to use some green in some other areas, so maybe these circles I'm going to do green. If your paint starts to look faded and you've already gone back over those dark areas, by all means dip your brush in the paint and go again, but it's not like you're scooping paint. You just want the paint to get on the tip of your brush, because you don't want it to drip onto your paper and get into spaces you don't want it to be in. I'm going to clean out my brush, and I'm going to get some red. Okay, and I'm going to put some red in these little spaces. Again, remember, I'm waiting for those petals to dry till I go back over them. The reason why is the paint, if it's wet next to wet, they can tend to mix together. I'm going back in. Okay, I'm going to clean out my brush, and I'm going to get the yellow again. I'm going to go back in here. So you get what I'm doing. I'm going back in areas that I know are dry, and I'm trying to do 3 different colors in each flower. It's really going to make your flowers stand out. Remember, the checkerboard should stay black and white. We're not doing different colors in the checkerboard. You can paint the background though after you're done with your flowers, and we'll talk more about the background later. What I would like you to focus on now is all your flowers, and make sure there are no white spots in your flowers. Make sure you finish painting them all. So I'm going to go back in. I think this is ready for me to use some paper. Some paint. I'm going to go back in with some red, and I'm going to carefully paint in those lines. Remember, if you want to paint in a small space, use very light pressure with your brush. Don't press down, because your brush is going to start getting wider, and you just want the tip of your brush. Okay. Alright, so your flowers should look like this, complete, no white spaces. This is the one flower I have that is complete on here. Alright, have fun painting, guys.